And welcome to another exciting episode of the Super Fantastic Exchange. My name's Gary. Guys, I can't tell you how excited I am to bring to you none other than Ariana Alfonso. Guys, y'all give it up for Ariana.
Woo!
Can you
I'm
hear
so
him
pumped
clapping?
to be here.
You hear him clapping for you?
I hear him.
It's unbelievable. You got quite the fan club. That's impressive. I love it.
I hear it. I feel it.
Because as long as you feel it.
I do.
Feel the applause and the excitement. That's huge. You're feeling it. I love it. Well, hey, Ariana, thank you so much for joining us here on the Super Fantastic Exchange. I wanted to give you a chance to share with us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so thank you so much for having me. I am a fan of the show that is now getting to be a guest on the show, so I'm very excited. My name's Ariana Alfonso. I'm in Tampa, Florida, and I work for Jetty, which is a deposit alternative, a flexible rent payment, and a renter's insurance platform. So just a total financial services platform for residents. And I really just work with multifamily owners and operators everywhere to implement the platform of products for their renters to give more affordability, which is, kind of a passionate project of all of ours right now during COVID and after, kind of everyone's in a little bit of a tough financial spot, especially renters. So it's a really, really fun job. Everyone wins. And it's a great, great job.
That's awesome, and I love that you're in the multifamily industry as a supplier, but the product that you have is a great product. It's more of a relationship type product to help people get to the next step. So I love what you do, and I can see the passion that you have for it. So which is fantastic. So Ariana, so I want to kind of start chatting with you about the things that inspire you, because you inspire so many other people and you help so many other people, and so I always love to connect with those inspiring people to see what inspires them. And so here we go. I've got a great list from you and some of your stories. You and I were chatting a little bit about your wow stories, and we're going to get to that in a minute. But let's start off with the first thing that you said that inspires you is ideation. And that is such a neat word. You don't hear that very often. And you pointed out in, some of the conversation that you wrote, there's a book that really inspired you to kind of, absorb that as your inspiration. And it also comes to kind of immersing yourself in a group think where it's healthy and thriving. So tell us a little bit more about ideation and where this comes from and how it inspires you.
Yeah, so it's totally a wow word. I had never heard it until I took this test. One of my best friends and, someone I really admire her work ethic, she recommended this book called Strengths Finder. And this was, I had graduated law school and I was kind of like, I didn't want to be a lawyer and I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I read this book and it was really helpful in identifying your key strengths. And I think a lot of us, I was certainly one of these people, can focus on your weaknesses a lot, and get caught up in what you're weak at. And the premise of this book is, hey, you should be playing to your strengths and you should know your strengths like the back of your hand. And so reading that built a lot of confidence in me at a young age. And it gave me this number one strength, which was ideation. And once I heard that word, it everything clicked, because I feel like when I was a kid and there was brainstorming in the class, that's when I was at my peak. I got so energized. I, love creative solutions to problems. And I really love thinking of kind of off the wall ideas. And so I've used that kind of as my North Star. And that's really how I got into tech. And really where I've kind of led myself professionally is through hey, who's coming up with good ideas? And where are the places that people are thinking of ideas regularly and ideas are allowed to thrive? Now, I will say that the best part about having good ideas is having people around you that know which ideas are good and which ideas to throw away.
Right.
Because, you need that healthy discourse. So I really surround myself with people where they allow me to say all of the things I'm thinking and every idea. And then they kind of reel me in and are okay, that one was genius. Those other ones will never work. But I've been really lucky that using that and kind of gauging that when I've done interviews or, gone to different companies has really led me to great places that I feel really excited to be a part of.
Yeah. And I love how you talked about you discovered your strength and you discovered this new word that you had never kind of been introduced to before. And once you uncovered that, which, you know, it happens to be a word, but it's your strength, that you were able to just start thriving in this environment or the circumstance, and you recognized, this is where I excel at, you know, talking, brainstorming, and kind of getting those words out. And that's such an incredible gift to be able to understand and recognize your strength, because a lot of us don't know truly what our strengths are. And so I love, Ariana, that you read this book, you took that assessment, and I think all of us should take the assessments to really identify that. Yeah,
no, I recommend this book to everyone, just because, and it also helps when like someone asks you in an interview. So if I know anyone who's interviewing for a job, I'm always like, take this test, because when they say, what are your strengths, you're now going to know those a little more intimately than if you hadn't actually spent the time to like go through all of the strengths that they have. And I think they have like 40 something strengths.
Yeah.
And some of them you wouldn't even think of. Like my friend is an includer. So she's someone who always makes sure others feel included. And that's such a strength that like, you know, makes people drawn to you and makes people, you know, grateful for your presence, because you're making people feel included. And I wouldn't have called that as a strength either, but it's totally one of her strengths.
Yeah, and it makes sense. And I absolutely firmly believe that everybody has a gift, a talent, or a skill inside them waiting to be developed. And that type of assessment kind of uncovers that, because a lot of us just don't know. We know there's something there, we just don't know what it is. And I love that you found it, and I love that you let it inspire you and you lead with that to help so many other people, because we need people that are just all the ideas. You need
the crazy idea people in the room. You need them. And then you need the people who are the realists, who are like, okay, let's select which ones in here can work.
Yeah, but you got to start with the crazy ideas so that you can start narrowing it down. Otherwise,
exactly.
You start real small.
Right.
I love it. All right, Ariana, so you've got another great inspirational point that I love, and I truly believe, in fact, this is one of my family's core values. You talk about authenticity. And this is such a great thing, because you mentioned it takes courage to be authentic, which I totally agree. And one thing I want you to touch on, which really intrigued me, was the soul toupee.
Oh,
so tell us, yeah. So tell us how authenticity inspires you. Then you got to expand on the soul toupee.
The soul toupee is something that me and my friends have kind of carried. It's this essayist who was kind of a, you know, offbeat political cartoonist, if you will. But he did write this one essay that really stuck with me, and it was about the soul toupee, and like, you know, how they were making fun of their professor, you know, because he wore this pretty bad toupee that everyone could see. And then amongst themselves having beers, they realized like, well, we all wear a toupee, right? Like we're all covering up something that we think we're covering up well, but if we really just owned it, everyone would be, you know, everyone can see it. If you just own yourself, people really love you all the more. So that's something that like me and our friends always talk about, like, oh, this is my soul toupee for the day. Like I'm really feeling insecure about this. And just being able to like laugh about it with the people who you really trust and care about. And then it also gives you bravery when you have that team of people who you can share yourself with, to go out and just be honest, you know, professionally with others. And I feel like I just really respect and admire people who can own everything about themselves from the get-go, because that's been hard for me. I think that's hard for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's taken like work to get there, and it still takes work. It's scary. But I think whenever I see someone who like really, you know, completely owns themselves, I feel inspired to do the same. And it creates space for all of us to be more honest about who we are.
Yeah. And it does, like you mentioned, it takes courage to be authentic, because, you know, we're so wrapped up in the social media, you know, put forth your best pictures and stories. And so it makes it difficult to be our flawed, imperfect self. And when you're authentic, I think and I'll share, as leaders, I think our teams look for the authentic leader, look for the leader that has some flaws and owns them and doesn't wear the soul toupee, like you mentioned. And so I think that is such an inspirational point. I love that you bring it up, because it really does, you know, give value to being yourself. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah. It's been inspirational to me to watch other people. So it's kind of like everyone holding the torch of like, who's the most authentic leader. And I've been really lucky. I've been really lucky that I've had leaders that are extremely authentic and honest and like, very, very, very kind. And they create space for, all of us to do the same. So really lucky in that regard.
And that's awesome. And those are the leaders that you want to follow and that you will follow because they are authentic. And that is indeed inspiring. And I love that so much. All right. Ariana, I want to get to this wow story that you shared with me, and I am absolutely just intrigued by this. So your third point of inspiration is overcoming adversity, and in a general sense, absolutely, that is inspiring in of itself. But you have a back story to this, which is unbelievable. So share us a little bit about the backstory and how this story inspires you.
Yeah. So my family, I'm the first person on my dad's side of the family to be born in this country. They were all born in Havana, Cuba, and Guantanamo, Cuba. So they had to flee Cuba, when the Castro regime took over, which was obviously incredibly hard and traumatic to pick up your entire life, and come to this country with essentially nothing. So a lot of difficulty there, leaving behind family members. They had actually just lost a baby, to SIDS. So there was just so much trauma, picking up everything and leaving everything behind and then starting over with absolutely nothing. They worked like they lived in attic. They lived like, they worked, my grandfather was an architect and he had to kind of start over drawing, not getting his architecture license yet and work his way up. And my grandmother was an accountant back, a full CPA in Cuba.
Wow.
And she ended up just being a bookkeeper here. And never was able to get her accounting license, but she was raising 3 sons, not able to drive, not able to speak the language. And they just totally overcame all adversity to build such a legacy for their family in Tampa. And I really feel like, they instilled in us the value that if you have your family and your health, you have enough, you have everything, and like everything else will come with time. And I feel like, they sacrificed a lot to send their kids to the best schools. And I feel like that sacrifice is taken so to heart by their children and grandchildren. And we just want to honor them every single day. And it makes the smallest problems feel like not that big of a deal when if your grandmother was like, fighting to escape communism. So it was definitely a learning moment for all of us, and just kind of puts everything into perspective when you see their struggles and how happy they were, just to be here with their children healthy and well.
Yeah. And there's 2 things that you said that I picked up on. One is creating legacy. And I think that is such an incredible thing to recognize when, whether it's you in the moment that you're creating a legacy for the next generation to stand on, but you've recognized that your grandparents and your parents are creating the legacy based on the adversity that they've overcome. And now you've got 2 steps ahead because of the work they've done. And now you're creating that next step for the next generation. And that's inspirational in of itself.
Oh yeah. I mean, we're so grateful to my grandparents always. And they're shameless plug for my family's architecture firm, Alfonso Architects in Tampa. They've done so much work throughout the state and the country. And it's all thanks to my grandfather and starting over and drawing in Tampa and Ybor City and growing his firm and growing their legacy. And I couldn't be more grateful. I could cry talking about it, but I couldn't be more grateful to them for everything they sacrificed.
Yeah. And I can feel the gratitude that you have in your heart and the way you talk about what they've done and what they've done for you. Absolutely incredible. So I feel that honor that you have for them. So that's unbelievable. And that kind of clicks into the next thing that I had picked up on was putting things into perspective. Truly, we kind of in our entitled next day immediate gratification expectations, it really does put things in perspective when you have to just pick up your entire life and start over. That's unbelievable.
Yeah. And my grandmother had a great point that's like, this is probably the biggest piece of advice I'll ever take from her, is because she was an accountant. She said, even in her lowest moments, because I asked her, like, how did you do it? Like, I don't even know, like, I can barely get through my days sometimes, like, how did you do it? And she said, you know, at the end of the day, I'm an accountant and my credits always outweighed my debits. And that's how she saw the world. And like, when you think about it, that's always true. My credits will always outweigh my debits by a lot, you know? So having that perspective is just so key to how I view the world. And I'm so grateful for that life lesson that she was able to pass on to me, because I've faced nowhere near the amount of adversity that she did. But you know, now when I do face things, my credits always outweigh my debits.
That's you need to print that up, hang it on the wall. Always have your credits outweigh your debits. That's a wonderful quote.
It is. It really is. And it's funny because I've like failed out of accounting. Like I could not do accounting.
But that's
I got
okay.
that one right.
Yeah, but
I was horrible at accounting. I cried through that whole class in business school. But it really did help me see the world in a way that I feel like I'm a glass half full type of person because of her. So I'm very grateful.
That's all. Well, you know, you say you failed out accounting, but you can't deny the truth. You passed the bar, the Florida bar.
Yes. Yeah. No, I am a lawyer.
What?
Yes, I am a lawyer, which is funny, but I would, please don't ask me to read any of your contracts. Like I'm a practicing lawyer. Yes, I did pass the bar, and I'm very glad I did that. I took a lot of great skills from being a lawyer, and I do keep it renewed because it's, you know, again, the education that my grandparents, they said, no one can take away your degree, you know? So I do keep it renewed, but I don't practice. But I guess I always can, you know? So it's
sure.
Nice. Yeah.
That's inspirational in of itself. That's
absolutely good fallback plan.
Hey, Ariana, man, I could talk to you for hours. This has been such a great conversation, and your inspiration is so unbelievable. Your wow story is so amazing. But we're coming to the end of our time, and I want to give you an opportunity to share a closing thought. What do you got on your mind?
You know, I want to say thank you for sharing your enthusiasm, because I love your enthusiasm so much. And I feel like that in multifamily and seeing like someone try to, you know, be a content creator, it got me really excited. And so thanks for sharing your positivity and enthusiasm, because you made my whole day. So this was really fun. And now I'm rolling into the weekend with a really happy start to my day and a start to my weekend. And thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing your story, and you know, your wow story, your inspiration's unbelievable. And I'm the quote of the day is always have your credits outweigh your debits.
They always do.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Big plug for your family and the legacy that they are creating. Absolutely unbelievable. Guys, y'all check out Ariana Alfonso on LinkedIn. Check out Jetty, the deposit alternative for the multifamily industry. Absolutely incredible. I've seen their product. And guys, thank you so much for being part of our new episode of the Super Fantastic Exchange. Thank you, Ariana, for being absolutely incredible and inspirational.
So
thank you. This has been great. I've enjoyed meeting you and hearing your story. And we will see you on the next episode of the Super Fantastic Exchange. We'll see you guys. Ariana, that was great.
That was so fun.